Now that all circuits have been drawn, we can move forward and draw the leaders line. We are going to draw the leaders line of the kitchen circuits. To do that, I'm going to use tails command. You click on the icon and you snap on the CN line that has been drawn by live serpentine command. Then I draw lines going back to the manifold, and the lines are the path of the leaders of these two circuits. Make sure when you draw the leaders line that the floor type is set to occupied. That means that the spacing of the leaders must be the spacing of the room you're crossing. In this case we got this funny drawing just because the spacing of the kitchen is different than the spacing of the entry room. To avoid this kind of drawing, I'm going to force the spacing to 6 inches, regardless the occupied spacing of kitchen and entry room. It is also possible to set the distance between the CN line and the first line of the circuit. In this case it's set to 1 inch. The first line, the one that hooks up the manifold, has to have actually the floor type set to occupied. All in this case, the spacing of the leaders is exactly the distance between the stations of the manifold. Let's get focused now on the leader lines of the dining room. I'm going to move the leader line using the move command and line it up with the manifold station. Using the O-track, I place the line correctly and then I stretch it back to hook up the manifold. This kind of connection is possible because manifold and leaders line are placed at the same elevation. Because the pipe layout in this room is not totally acceptable, let's see how we can edit manually. One of the things that we can change is the distance between the edge line and the first line of the circuits. If we set this distance to 6 inches for instance, and then we click apply in the sidebar, the program redraws the circuits, and this is the layout that we get. At the bottom of the room, the program didn't draw any other pipe just because there is not enough space to have another 2 pipes. If we check the spacing of the circuits, we remind you that it's 6 inches on the center, while the distance between the edge line and the pipe of the circuits is only 10 inches. I remind you that we need at least 18 inches. So what we do now is reduce the distance between the edge line and the circuits so we get a better layout in the center of the room, and then we stretch back in order to get a better layout. So we run the stretch command and we stretch back the 3 circuits. This is the results we got. Let's draw now the leaders line of the living room, and we use once again tails command to do that. We click on the icon of the tails command and we snap on the CN line that has been drawn by live serpentine command. Then we go back. We could also go inside the powder room and then go back to hook up the manifold, but we go straight to the manifold now. The floor type is still occupied, so the spacing of the leaders is the spacing of the entry room. If you want to, you can change the distance between the CN line and circuit at any time. You just highlight the CN line in the sidebar. You change the distance and the program redraws everything automatically. Or if you want to set a different spacing, you can force an imposed spacing by selecting one of the available spacing in the pull down menu. Click apply to make the program redraw everything. The automatic redrawing is possible as long as the circuit has not been edited by the user. Otherwise you have to force the redrawing. In this case, we are setting the distance from the circuit to 0, so the first line of the circuit will be overlapped to the Cn line, as you can see. And then we force a different spacing.